Hello and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Chelsea Cousins and I am part of the team at Journity. I am so excited to have a new topic this week. We are celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month, and so the topic is accelerating digital impact by engaging ethnic minorities. Today we are going to be recording the webinar, so you will have the recorded version emailed to you after the webinar. So if we're going through it a little fast, don't hesitate to review the webinar later on this week or share it with your colleagues. With that, I just want to mention a couple quick housekeeping things. We are going to be engaging as a group today. So if our speaker asks you a question, feel free to type something in the chat box or ask a question. Any questions that you think of throughout the webinar, we will address at the end of the webinar. So feel free to either type those in the chat box or to put them in the question and answer. To get us started, I would like to introduce our guest speaker, Ivan Leon. He is an accomplished cross-cultural marketing strategist. He is credited with making GodTube.com and Logos Bible software irresistible among Hispanics. Through his leadership, GodTube gained 500,000 Spanish registered users in its first year, and Logos online sales quadrupled during his 5-year tenure. Drawing from his wealth of experience, he founded Kerux Group, an agency that partners with ministries to effectively attract and engage Hispanic population. As the chief strategist, he leads a seasoned team of content creators and campaign activators that come alongside organizations such as Family Life, Back to the Bible, and HarperCollins to help them connect with authenticity to Hispanics. With that, I will go ahead and hand it over. Yvonne, take it away. Yvonne, are you muted? I can't hear you on my end.
Chelsea, I'm sorry, I don't know, but the connection here dropped for a while, so I am back, I guess.
Great. I'm sorry about that. We were just having a little bit of technical difficulty, but go ahead and take it away.
Well, thank you so much for that kind introduction, and welcome everybody. I appreciate making time. I know you're busy, and so I will try to give you as much content as possible in the next few minutes. Especially thanks to Journey for this invitation. Timely invitation, since you already heard, is Hispanic Heritage Month, a time when businesses, the government, and of course the media puts a spotlight on what Latinos are doing in this country. And I really commend Journey for taking this conversation into the nonprofit sector that unfortunately sometimes ignores the types of festivities. And so it's very appropriate. Before we get started, then, I'd like to just think through some questions here. So let's start dialoguing. Do you agree or disagree with these statements? First of all, there is much opportunity for my nonprofit to engage Hispanics. This is like a mental exercise, or if you will, let us know there on the chat. Do you agree or disagree with that statement? Much opportunity for my nonprofit to engage Hispanics. I'll give you a moment to think about that. Or perhaps you say that there is some opportunity for my nonprofit to engage Hispanics, but not enough to justify the efforts. That's another option. You might be thinking some opportunity, but not enough to justify the efforts. What do you think? Or perhaps you're in the third camp. I don't have enough information to assess if there is opportunity for my nonprofit to engage Hispanics, and perhaps that's the reason why you joined. Please do let us know, so we'll just curious who is on the other end and where do you fit in these buckets. Agree or disagree with either one of these points? Well, so hopefully the conversation now is gonna educate and inspire you to really understand that there is opportunity. Of course, that's what I do, but I think I need to prove my case, right? So the first half of the dialogue will focus on that, showing you why your nonprofit should be thinking about this audience. And then in the second part of the conversation, we're gonna focus more on how you to do that effectively. So next, I want to show you a very quick video that will really capture key facts and relevant information. It is very entertaining. I think you would enjoy it. So allow me to show you that quick video.
Are you leading a Christian organization? Do you know there's a tremendous opportunity to increase donations, sales, and reach? Engage an untapped audience of 57 million people and growing. Their buying power has soared to $1.7 trillion, equivalent to Canada's GDP and larger than Australia's. It's no surprise then that savvy brands have invested nearly $10 billion in advertising to capture the hearts and minds of this community. Who is this amazing demographic? Hispanics in the United States. They are an influential force in American society, becoming the doctors, engineers, journalists, artists, entrepreneurs, and church leaders of today and tomorrow. Digital media has made it easier and cheaper than ever to reach them. Every day, more than 40 million Hispanics get online to watch videos, shop for products, and share recommendations. And because they keep close ties with family and friends in Latin America, word of mouth can spread like wildfire, multiplying conversations across 20 nations with a combined population of 500 million. Most exciting of all, Hispanics are eager to consume faith-based content and products and are motivated to support religious and social causes. You'll gain momentum for years to come. So what are you waiting for? Learn how to relate to their culture. Take strategic steps. And you'll turn Hispanics into your most energized and committed supporters. They're within your grasp. And we at the Kerux Group are ready to walk alongside you to ensure success.
Well, hopefully that capture your attention more than just showing what we do. I wanted to show you all the wonderful statistics that really reveal the potential. But just recently, I mean, a week ago, the Census Center released some very relevant and important data. And that is that in the US, there has never been a level of foreign-born citizens as it is right now. It's the highest since 1910 when there was another wave of important immigration. So this is very relevant, timely, just last week. And what this says is that multicultural America is becoming more and more obvious. Now this release also focuses on the growth of those that are coming from Asia, and that is true, but still foreign-born citizens in the US, the largest share are Hispanics. And this is just kind of a breakdown on what that article revealed. 44 million people are foreign-born. That's about 13% of the total US population, and over 15% come from Latin America. So very fresh. It is something that it cannot be ignored. And that is why, frankly, businesses and the media and content creators are increasingly adjusting their strategies and their content to reach this audience. So we will go over that. But perhaps you want to dive more deeper into all the statistical and the reasons why America is more racially diverse. And this is a great read that I want to encourage you to get into read. Diversity Explosion by famed demographer William Frey. And I just want to read one statement from this book. It says, I am convinced that the United States is in the midst of a pivotal period, ushering an extraordinary shift in the nation's racial demographical makeup. If planned for properly, these demographic changes would allow the country to face the future with growth and vitality as it reinvents the classic American melting pot for a new era. And the key here is if planned properly. And so I would really hope that through this presentation, you begin to think, how can your organization adjust to this new reality? It's here. And so here's a graph that is extracted from that book. It really shows what is happening as the white population ages, because that's also another factor contributing to the growth of minorities. As the white population is aging, minority groups are increasing, and you can see it on the graph. By 2050, minorities will become majority. Now, that is not hopefully a threat to you. It is a reality that must be reckoned with and faced. We're not here to change anything of the wonderful traditions and opportunities this country presents. In fact, I think diversity could make the country even better, as William phrases in that book, to reinvent the classic American melting pot for a new era. So, as I said, I want to show you some examples of what very recently media and other organizations are doing to reach this demographic. And so you might recall that in the Thanksgiving weekend, this movie from Pixar was released, Coco, and it was centered on a Mexican festivity that really went mainstream in the US, and it really killed at the box office, bringing in millions of dollars and winning over films like Star Wars and many other rivals that released during that weekend. It was the biggest hit that Pixar had, and of course it drew a lot of Hispanics to watch, but then also, the general public. And here's another example, Time, adjusting one of his platforms to reach the Latino audience through People Chica. And notice here that they are going to create content that is bilingual, obviously appealing to that young Latina audience that speaks English, but then also speaks Spanish. So Time, adapting to that. And then, a packaged good company like Niso, with so many brands and products, really revamping their multicultural efforts, not to be behind all these things that are happening. So I wanted to show you that this is happening on the secular side, but I want to bring now all of that into, our context, the nonprofit, the ministry setting. Hispanics, well, why should you care after all? You might say, fine, Ivan, I get it. Companies are doing that. Hispanics are investing. But is there really an opportunity for us in the Christian nonprofit ministry setting? Perhaps you might have heard anecdotally that, yeah, Hispanics care about faith, but, they don't donate much, or they, are not really actively involved. They don't become volunteers, or they're very less involved in church settings. Well, I wanted to show you some things that really counter all of that. And so I think a very compelling reason to start engaging Hispanics is you're going to impact the next generation. I mean, as we show on the video, Hispanics are a growing and young demographic group, and they are getting more educated. And so they are becoming now the doctors, lawyers, scientists, journalists of tomorrow. This is very smart thing to do, because if you want to then establish and propel your ministry for years to come, it is a demographic that it'd be smart to start reaching out now. And for instance, I want to show this statistic that just was released by Nelson. I will talk about it more towards the end of this webinar, so pay attention. But Nielsen did a in-depth study of Hispanics' online habits. And on that, they discover also something that is very key for marketers. Hispanics have a longer life expectancy than whites. Their median age is obviously much younger, as I was mentioning before. But here's the key. The years of effective buying power are also longer. 36 for non-Hispanic and 54 for Hispanic. That is the years that a person can make financial decisions during his lifetime. So almost 55 years. So if you start engaging Hispanics early on in their life, you will have them for life. In fact, the report also says that Hispanics are very, very loyal, and they will stick with one brand or they'll stick with one organization once the trust has been established. And that's the key. So impact the next generation, but then also engage the most connected audience. Hispanics surpass any other group when it comes to using smartphones or participating on social media, watching video, or shopping online. They're very active on social platforms. And on the same Nielsen research, there's this graph where you can see that they are super social and super mobile. And I just, we can go in a lot detail about this, but just want to show you what are the top platforms that they are using right now. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and you can see Google Plus and Snapchat. They're all there using it daily to interact with friends, to share recommendations, to stay in touch with family in the US and Latin America. So social media has really, it's really been a great tool for communication. Now for brands, this is a wonderful and fantastic opportunity never had before. How would you reach millions of people before? You have to pay incredible amount of money on television or radio. And now you can reach that same demographic and even more precise through social channels. So if anything, you need to start having social media presence geared towards Latinos, whether that is in Spanish or whether that is in English and Spanish, or even just in English, but with the flavor of, with a Hispanic flavor. And then inspire their generosity. Yes, Hispanics will donate more if they were asked more often. Some studies have revealed. The problem is those causes need to resonate with their heartfelt needs, their interest. Even, they will be willing to purchase products that celebrate their heritage. The issue is not whether Hispanics give or not give. The issue is how that message gets sent to them. What is the motivation? What are the connecting points? What's the reason they should give? I mean, it's very basic. You would expect this from your American Anglo audience. They will have all these questions, but when it comes to Hispanics, a lot of ministries think that, okay, we'll just take that letter that was written to an Anglo audience, translate it, and send it to Hispanics. And then they come to us and say, well, Hispanics don't give. They haven't responded. We are very disappointed at these efforts. We put a lot of money on this and don't see results. Well, it was not that Hispanics don't have the capacity. It's the way you're communicating to them. And I wanted to show you, for instance, a success case. I can, share more. But St. Jude has been building a presence and relationship and trust with Hispanics for almost a decade. And look at this, a recent radiothon raised almost $500,000, in just 2 days. $500,000 in just 2 days. Would you like to have that and available today to do wonderful projects? I'm sure you do. So the opportunity is there, but you need to start and you need to be consistent. And finally, of course, satisfy their spiritual curiosity. Hispanics, especially those living here in the United States, are looking for a fresh encounter with God. They want to move away from the traditions brought from their religion in Latin America and are looking for alternative expressions of faith. And frankly, sometimes they don't find the truth. And we have that message to give. So it's a great, great opportunity. In fact, a Pew Research that tracks the shift in religious affiliations among Hispanics says that only 2% of Hispanics have reported being evangelized through media outreach. That is really, really low. I mean, you can see the opportunity is immense because obviously there is a disconnect, right? They are online all the time. They are using media. They're heavy users of platforms, and yet the message is not getting through them through those channels. So it's a wonderful and fantastic opportunity for anyone that sees it. So that's the first part. I told you at the beginning that we were going to show you why it makes sense for you to reach Hispanics. But now I want to switch gears because hopefully I convinced you by this point. And now I wanted to show you how you can start communicating. So let's take a look first to two ads that I think would illustrate some of the similarities and differences, aspects you need to consider when communicating cross-culturally. And so first, I'm going to show an ad in English, and I'll ask you to observe the context, the music, the script, the different things that are captured in that very short commercial. And then we're going to see how that same product is presented to Hispanics. Now, I need to say, this is not work that we have done. Other agency on the secular side have done it, but I think it really illustrates the point of what we're here talking about today. So for next, let me show you this clip.
Last chance for South. Into the end zone. Touchdown! Out of bounds. Oh, out of bounds. What a tough way to lose a player. You need a lift? Yeah. Guys, make some room. Toyota. Let's go places.
So there you have it. That is Toyota showing their product in English. The context is football, right? Now let me show you how that is shown to a Hispanic.
Dicen que si no te ensucias, no has jugado. Pero no todos se ensucian igual. Cuando nadie te toca y te avientas así. Cuando te retuerces con lágrimas falsas. Eso es ensuciarte jugando sucio. Pero también están los que se ensucian de verdad. Con trabajo de verdad. Con esfuerzo de verdad. Con entrega de verdad. Hay una gran diferencia. Toyota, vayamos juntos.
So hopefully that revealed to you the differences in approaching one audience as opposed to the other. Let me see if I can get back here to... Now, for instance, on the first commercial, you saw what? You saw a commercial in the context of football. Well, And the second ad you saw in the context of soccer. That's more relevant to Latinos. And we could also talk about how the script was built. We can also talk about how the music is used. We can talk about her colors, but I'll just stop on the slogan part. The slogan in the English version is "Let's go places." Let's go places. On the Spanish version, it's "Vayamos juntos." Translated, "Let's go together." And so you can see here that if the creatives would just take the commercial and translate it directly, they would have missed a very important component, what matters to Latinos, and that is the aspect of community and social unity. And I think that message is more powerful than just "let's go places." I'm trying to get here to full screen. So let's go and talk about some of the common challenges. Quickly, I know we're running out of time. Some of the common challenges that we observe in our consulting is obviously lack of vision. So hopefully presentations like this are revealing and informative and help you guys capture the vision for all of this. The other aspect is the language. So, and this is what I was just referring. How do you take one message that is in English and take it to a Spanish-speaking audience or even a bilingual audience? And I just illustrated, hopefully, through this commercial that I've shown. And of course, staffing. You might say, well, I don't have anybody internally that can handle this. But frankly, there is a lot of things that can be done through, volunteers, even of course through outsourcing. The point there is to be really smart, not having, multiplicity of people, but to have the right people in the right seats. And tied to all of this, of course, is budget. Well, you might be thinking, well, I have to really duplicate everything that I do in English. That means, I need millions of dollars to put into this effort. And the truth is, no, you don't have to. In fact, if you were to use some of the money that is being probably currently used in Spanish efforts, but do it in a much more strategic and intentional way, you will get much better results. It's not an issue then of staffing, budget, or language. At the end of the day, it's an issue of vision and how to execute that vision effectively. So some final considerations to give time for you to questions. Commandment versus tippy-toe. As I share with you, St. Jude is having success because they started to engage the Latino audience 10 years ago. And they today are getting the results that I showed to you. So you have to be committed. Now, I'm not saying you have to be full in this, with a big budget and a big staff and a lot of content. But what I'm saying is, even if you whatever little you can do, be committed and stay at it, and that is going to really bring dividends. At the end, also, strategy versus tactics. A lot of people we consult with come to us and they want just a quick translation of their website or revision of their donor piece or a video dub. And all of that is wonderful. We do the job. But if those pieces do not align with a solid and coherent strategy, at the end of the day, none of those tactics are going to yield results. And then we're going to end up in the same spot. Contextualization versus translation. That's what I said earlier when I showed you that commercial. Adapting your content to the audience that you're trying to reach. It's not just a matter of translating, it's a matter of contextualizing. And finally, consultations versus assumptions. Don't assume things. Rather, consult with those that know how to do it. And of course, we'll be happy to give even a free consultation to get you started. But there are many resources available. And on our website, in fact, keruxgroup.com, we are adding more and more of content that is geared toward educating you on all these different matters. In fact, I want to invite you to join us for a live webinar, and this is going to be co-sponsored with Nielsen. I asked the people at Journey here to allow me make this announcement, and so we have partnered with Nielsen, one of the most trusted metrics firms, and the creators of this report that I mentioned earlier. And on October 4th, we are going to offer a webinar that is going to cover all the content on this latest research, and more specifically, the content that is relevant to nonprofits. We will go into much depth with all the different demographical data, uses in technology, and more importantly, the new discovery that they have captured, which is Hispanics' commitment to social causes. So I invite you to join us on October 4th. The link is there. You can go and register. Right now, it's free. And as a bonus, we're also offering an incredible, amazing content. It's interviews with top executives, different corporations that are doing multicultural. I mentioned NISO, and that's one of them. We also have Comcast, Target, Verizon. They're not just talking about what they're doing in the Hispanic community, but they're bringing down their wealth of experience to give advice to the nonprofit world. So here's my contact information. And for now, I will then turn it back to Chelsea. Thank you for your attention there. And I hope all that was shared here was illuminating and practical to you.
Thank you, Yvonne. That was wonderful information. I have a couple of questions here. One of them, I believe you've answered. The question was, where do I start? And you alluded to going to your website. You have a lot of resources available on your website, or scheduling a consultation with you or someone on your team. But one question that I like to just address here to the audience is, what is the number one or most important thing to consider when communicating with the Hispanic audience?
That you need to take them seriously. For a long time, especially ministries, have taken Hispanics as an afterthought. And whatever was done in English, it was just kind of, translated by some volunteer or missionary or, person with very low expertise. And therefore, the translation sometimes was cheap, but sometimes was even inaccurate or even offensive. And all of that, Hispanics pick up. And they recognize then that, well, this ministry wants to send me and bless me, but it's not really putting the effort that is required to reach me effectively. And you see the level of production, that they are now used to. I mean, they go to Netflix and they see original productions done for them. You see Pixar, I just showed you a movie. You saw the commercial that, Tundra put out. Those require a lot of production. And so don't consider that reaching out to them, it has to be done in a in a simple or diminished way, because they have high expectations, and the reason is that's what today how media is consumed.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And just one last reminder, in 2 weeks from today, there will be a webinar that Yvonne will be hosting on October 4th at 11 a.m. And then Journey will also have another webinar at noon. So go ahead and go to their webinar at 11 a.m. and then come over to our webinar at noon. We would love to see you back. Thank you all. Thank you, Yvonne, for sharing your very valuable information. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to him. And until then, we'll see you in a couple weeks. Have a great rest of your day.